I just watched a video on here of one of my fellow Christian author creators, and she was talking about why in the Christian publishing industry we only want to publish G or PG rated books. Why, as Christian authors, do we feel like everything has to be squeaky clean? Now, don't get me wrong. I love me a good, cheesy, squeaky clean Hallmark story. But why, as Christian authors, do we feel so much pressure to only write this way? I think it's because we hold ourselves to the Christian standard, and there's a line that we don't want to cross. And I understand that. In my writing, I don't want to cross that line either. But that does not mean that we should stay away from the hard topics. Because unfortunately, those hard topics, the ugly things to talk about, they still happen, even though we're Christian. People get this stereotypical image of Christians as things are perfect all the time. We walk around or maybe float around on our little clouds and we just have our little halos above our heads and everything is just sunshine and rainbows all the time. And there's a reason that people have that stereotype of Christians. Our pastor at our church calls that sunshine preaching, where all we do is just make this picture that if you come to Jesus, you now live in the sunshine, and that's all. And that is not true. What it means when you have Jesus in your life is that when that sunshine is blocked out by a major storm in your life is now built on the rock that is Jesus. So you don't have to weather that storm alone because Jesus is going to be with you. So I feel like as a Christian author that it is not only what we should be doing, but it's kind of our job to be telling people about the storms. Storms happen, and especially to not tell people who aren't Christian that God is there in that storm is just doing a disservice, because people think that they have to be squeaky clean already to come to God. That's not true either. God meets you right where you're at. You don't need to be squeaky clean to come to him. He is holy. We are not holy. He is perfect. We are not perfect. In my book, God and Good Horses, I tackle a lot of traumatic issues. I talk about infertility. I talk about marriage issues. But I also center the story on this little girl who in the story is between the ages of 5 and 10 years old. It follows her as she grows up. And it talks a lot about abuse. And while I wanted to portray these things very accurately, I didn't want to go over a line. And that was not necessarily because I wanted to publish as Christian fiction. That is because my own personal preference when I'm writing a story is there's just a line in there where your imagination is going to have to take it. And that's actually better, because in books or in movies, actually, when traumatic scenes or hard scenes, though they may be accurate, they go overboard, it kind of ruins things for me. So it's like it didn't have to be that graphic for me to understand that this was horrible. So when I was writing these horrible things, I didn't want to get so graphic in my details that it took away from the story almost. And I feel like that I accomplished that, but I also feel like I told the story the way that it happened. So you understand what happened. You understand how ugly and dark these situations were without being disgusting or gross or overboard. Now, that does not mean that I haven't had readers tell me that they have gotten to chapter 2 and couldn't read anymore, because that has happened actually quite a bit. When they get to chapter 2, that begins the story of the little girl, and it starts with a very traumatic experience for her. It's okay. I don't take that as a slam to myself or as an author that people feel like they couldn't read past chapter 2, because some people just don't like that thing and they don't want to read about it. And that's okay. That's all right. But my point is, as Christians, we can't be PG because life is not PG. We have to let people know that even with God in your life, storms are going to come, but you can weather them. And we have to let people know that if you don't have God in your life, it is never too late to come to him. There is nothing that you have faced in your life that he cannot handle. There is nothing that has happened to you or that you have done that he will not forgive. And there is nothing that will make him not love you. So when we squeaky clean our stories, we're really doing a disservice, Christian authors, really, really doing a disservice to our readers, whether they be Christian or not. So those are just my 2 cents on this subject. Until I talk to you guys next time, I hope you're having a very beautiful day.